how can we maximize the time that we have every day? So if anyone has yet figured out a trick to get more than 24 hours in a day, they should share it with everybody. You can't maximize the time in terms of increasing it. We all get exactly the same amount. Doesn't matter who you are, rich or poor, pious, irreverent, successful, unsuccessful, old, young. Doesn't matter. It's the great leveler. We all get exactly the same amount of time every day. The question for us is, how do we utilize that time in such a way that at the end of the day, and at the end of our lives, on the one hand, we feel like, oh God, is it over already? Wow, I would have loved to smell another flower, climb another tree, help another person, hug another person, do the arti just one more time, hear beautiful music just one more time, see the stars one more time. That at the end of that day or that life, yeah, we want more because we loved every minute. And that we know that we've made full and perfect use of those minutes, of those days. So there's not a sense of regret. And that's what we're striving for, is how do we spend those minutes and days so that it's full of joy, full of love, and full of a sense that, yeah, even though I'd love some more, I'm good. And the way to do that is, first of all, not to lose any minutes. Meaning, we lose time when we go on autopilot. How many of us have had situations where you're like, where did today go? Right? You know, you're ready to go to sleep and you think the last thing I consciously remember was waking up this morning. I had a day. I know that I did a lot. I was busy all day long. And yet, where'd it go? I don't even remember it. Because we weren't really there. We might be able to go back and reconstruct it. Oh yeah, I met that person. But we weren't consciously there. Our mind was elsewhere. Our conscious mind was elsewhere. And so in that moment, we were running on autopilot. And when you're running on autopilot, when your subconscious is running the show, then two equally tragic things happen. First of all, you tend to do and say things that you later kind of regret. Because those are the things that are in the pattern of behavior that most of us are trying to work to shift. Unconscious patterns of behavior. We speak in certain ways, we act in certain ways, that we later say, who was that? I don't know where I was. I don't know where my mind was. I wasn't there. So number one, we actually make unskillful choices in the moment because we're not actually present. And number two, we're not able to use those moments use those minutes for our highest goal. Because in order to actually attain, whether we say self-realization or God-realization or liberation or moksha or nirvana or even bliss, samadhi, shanti, whatever we are going for, well, every one of them requires one thing: consciousness. I must be present in that moment. You don't later look back and say, oh yeah, I guess that was kind of a God-realized moment, but I didn't really notice it. I wasn't there. It only happens when you are there. You can only realize God and self when you realize the moment. If your power of awareness is not there, how can you be aware of the truth? Aware of God, aware of the self. So, the only way to maximize the possibility, the potential of every moment is to be aware. Don't lose time. Don't have situations where where did today go? Where did the last year go? So busy, but it seemed like it slipped through my fingers. A lot of times people ask, when people come and then they're going back and they say, how do we hold this with us when we go back? And what I always tell people is the only way is to be fully aware when you are here so that you can actually have a deep and transformative experience. Because when you're aware and present, then you can be transformed. And then that transformation stays with you because you have been changed. But if you're not here, even if your body is, you're not going to be transformed, which means your body will be here, you'll eat good food, you'll do things, you'll have fun, you'll go back, and you won't be able to grasp it because you weren't actually here. So whether it's here in Rishikesh or here on planet Earth, bring your consciousness to every moment. Every moment, here I am. Here I am. And what that does is it enables us to be present so we don't lose time. But it also enables us to interact with that moment in the way with the most love, the most openness, the most availability, such that as we look back on the day in our lives, we're like, wow, I was so available to so much love. I was so available to so much beauty. I've got this beautiful blessing of being able to be in Puja Swamiji's presence in so many places of the world and to be able to have traveled with him for more than 25 years now. And there's a piece of it, so much of it continues to amaze me, but one piece of it is really, really very special, which is wherever he is, no matter what else is going on, he's noticing beauty. We may be driving around in circles because the people who are driving us to the function are late and they're lost and they don't know where to go and there's stress in the car because we were supposed to be there. And, You know the way people get when they're stressed, and you said you knew the way, and why didn't you get directions, and we should have left earlier, and, you know, the way that things manifest sometimes. And in the midst of all of it, he'll say, do you know what kind of tree that is? Or, oh, we have those flowers. Or, oh, I remember I saw those flowers once in New Zealand. Yeah, they're called, and he'll recall the name or ask the name. Or he'll say, next time when you come to Rishikesh, can you bring a cutting of those? We should have those in our garden. And it's like, even though everyone else in the car is in some story around what's wrong with the moment, where we're supposed to be other than where we are, some drama, some game in the head, he's right there in the moment. Which flowers are we passing? Which trees? And it's such a beautiful reminder all the time. I've been in so many airports with him where we are late, because we're almost always late, because he milks every moment for what it's worth. And why waste it sitting in an airport if you can give someone who's been waiting for time and they didn't have time and you've got 5 minutes? Why leave 5 minutes early if you can give time to someone who's going to be touched and healed and helped? And so inevitably we always leave at the very last minute. And in airports, almost inevitably, it's a moment of final call, final call. And yet in the midst of final call, again, he'll say things like, that's really nice the way they've done this landscaping with the waterfall here. Did you notice that? And I'm like, in 30 seconds, they're closing our gate and we are a good, half a mile away from it. I'm sure it's a beautiful waterfall, but let's move. And he's right there with the waterfall, with the flowers, wow, somebody's done a new landscaping here. Or did I notice the way that they've changed the roofing since we were here last time to allow more sunlight in? He'll say, God, last time we walked through this airport, it was much darker. Don't you remember? Now there's so much light coming through. I think, wow. All I see in the airport is how many more gates till we get to where we're going so that the gate doesn't close before we get there. And even though, we are right on the verge of the gate closing and missing the flight, where is his presence? With the extra rays of light that are streaming through the ceiling. And he's so present that he actually remembers what it was like last time, because he was so present then. And that's still in his awareness, and he's able to. So it actually is doable. Even in what we call, mundane existence. People sometimes say, well, you live this world and we live this other world, and that may be possible in your world, but it's not possible in our world. And what I've seen is it's possible in every world. Because being present and being conscious doesn't mean you never miss a flight. It doesn't mean you're never late for a program. It doesn't mean that things don't happen in life. It doesn't mean you never get sick. It doesn't mean people you love never die. It doesn't mean the stock market never crashes. It doesn't mean there's never an earthquake or a fire. Or it doesn't mean that things don't happen. It just means that you are there for every moment of your own happening. And you don't lose that. So many of us have this idea that somehow being busy is the excuse to not be present. And if you're one of those people, I would give a really, really, really hard look at what excuses you're giving yourself. Because what are you losing? And what are you gaining? And in that busyness, what are you gaining? And I'm not saying don't be busy, be busy. It means continually be engaged in action, in karma. But awareness doesn't leave you just because you are grocery shopping, driving a car, preparing a report, sweeping the floor, dropping your kids off at soccer practice, balancing a checkbook, giving a lecture. There's nothing that awareness cannot be present with, other than the mind going, oh my God, I'm so busy, oh my God, I'm so busy, oh my God, I'm so busy, oh my God, I'm so busy. That's what blocks awareness. So it doesn't mean don't be engaged. It means don't let your mind tell you stories about what you're doing. Don't create a drama that hijacks your mind about what you're doing that prevents you from being aware while you're doing it. And that's the key. So just constantly keep asking yourself, am I here? Am I here? Am I here? That's the greatest way I know to maximize your experience of, your presence of the 24 hours we get.